All right, so I want to welcome all of you guys to our Start Canada call for Sunday, April 23rd. My name is LINA Thompson, and I am coming to you from Barrie, Ontario. I have some of my crew here, and some of you guys I know, and some of you guys I don't know. So before I keep going, I'm going to share a little bit about my story with you with Isagenix. Over 4 years ago, I was introduced to Isagenix. I was in a place that I was overweight and I was tired and I was really uncomfortable in my skin. I didn't like who I was, and when I looked in the mirror, I wasn't happy with what I saw. I knew something had to change, but I didn't know what. So my mom introduced me to Isagenix. I said no for a long time, and being a middle child, I said I will try it to shut you up, and then you never talk to me about it again, and I'll send it back after 30 days. Fast forward, I was feeling really good, and I continued using the products, and because of my lifestyle changes, I was able to lose over 75 pounds and just feel amazing in my skin and really be part of the culture that Isagenix has to offer. I said no to the business for a long, long time, and it was after I went to Celebration where I realized that there are 13,000 other people in the room whose lives had changed physically or financially because of Isagenix, and that this might actually be something. And I was able to let go of a part-time retail job with the income that I replaced with Isagenix income. And now I have a team that is growing of just incredible people who are there on their own journeys in whatever capacity, and we get to love on each other and hang out. And I absolutely love it. So that's a little bit about my background. So first, I want to thank you guys all for being on this call. If you're not live on this call, thank you for taking the time to watch the recording. These calls are for you and your team. So if you have a teammate or friend or somebody that you really want on the call right now, take your phone, send them a little message, and tell them that we are starting. The purpose of this call is to unite START members within Canada. We do have people from the States and beyond that are on the call, but the primary focus of this is for Canadians. We have a START committee and START associates, so thank you guys all in the committee for hosting and taking part in organizing these calls. And you can find these calls, the recordings, on the START Canada YouTube page. Thank you to Tina. Every Sunday evening we get together to provide tools, support, training, so that you guys all have a 10 out of 10 belief in all areas, so that you are unstoppable in sharing this incredible gift. And these calls are led by people like me, people like you, who want the opportunity to grow and share your leadership. So if you want to be part of the Start Canada committee, please reach out to any of us, like me or Tina or Morgan, and we can get you hooked up with that. So we are a group of fired up young people with the common vision to ignite. I don't know why I'm really nervous today, so I apologize for that. We are here to ignite all young people to own their lives physically and financially, and through our contributions, create a freedom and a lasting legacy. So how many of you guys can get excited about that? Awesome. So just a little quick disclaimer, in regards to the products, Isagenix is just superfood nutrition. It's not a weight loss system. It does not guarantee results. What you put into it is what you get out of it. But what we do know is that our bodies are miracles. So when you fuel your body with good things, when you exercise, when you do things that are really good for you, then you're going to see the results, and miracles can really happen. And because there is a financial opportunity with Isagenix, it is a business that what you put into it is what you get out of it. So you might hear some claims on this call about different earnings, and like I said, what you put in is what you get out. So everybody's earnings will be different. So I want to invite you to use the chat. If you have any questions or any comments, you want to throw something out, throw it in the chat. And with that being said, we'll get right rolling into our call with our starter in the spotlight. So we do this little piece to introduce you to our Start Canada family. Our Start Canada family. A lot of these people we see on the calls, and then we don't actually meet them until an event, and so you run into them and you're like, I feel like I know you already. So it's really cool that we have this piece to introduce you to our family and hear some amazing stories. So sometimes you'll hear a story that does not particularly relate to you, but might relate to somebody you know. And we have a one team mentality, so you might be able to utilize this story to help somebody else in their journey. So with that being said, I want to welcome Jasmine Hernandez from Stony Creek, Ontario.
Hi guys, I'm really sorry about my camera. Everything's broken, my phone, my computer, everything. It sucks that it landed on this day, but that's all right. I can do what I can. So my name's Jasmine. I'm super excited to be speaking to everybody. Also super nervous, so bear with me. I might stutter. I just wanted to share a little bit about myself as to why I'm talking and why I'm here. So within the past year and a few months, I've taken a major lifestyle change. In January 2016, I was living abroad, living in Europe, loving life out there. It was great. But I noticed when I came home, I just did not feel good. I felt weak. I felt lazy. And coming home from living abroad, I noticed that I gained a lot of weight. I kind of noticed that it was time to make a change and make a difference. So I just did like what anyone else would do. I would eat a little bit healthier. I went to the gym 1 to 2 times a day and started to feel a little better. Within time, I was down to up to 45 pounds and continue to do so. For 6 months after that, I continued doing the same thing, but I had a little more balance in my eating, and I treated myself more than often. I went through a little mini heartbreak, and I lost all my motivation quickly come fall 2016. I thought that I was eating healthy and going to the gym because I had to, not because I wanted to. I basically lost all motivation in myself and was noticing no differences. So I was like, what's something that can boost me up? I then made an Instagram account just based on health and fitness to kind of just lift myself up a little bit, and maybe that'll motivate me to eat healthier and go to the gym more. This account blew up, and I don't mean it in a way that's it failed. I mean it in a way that I gained 1,000 followers in the smallest amount of times, all from Hamilton and all across Ontario. Within this account, I would be getting up to 5 inboxes daily or up to 10 inboxes a week, 10 to 20, just asking me for help on different health journeys or how I gained motivation and how I did it. It was a crazy, insane result. I didn't expect that. And I felt really good about myself that I had the chance to help other people. Winter of 2017, I decided I needed more than just this Instagram account, typing things that I'm not even perfectly knowledgeable on, but just trying to help people. That's when Isagenix came along. Before Isagenix, I felt really lost because I was unsure how to help people and myself. I felt exhausted because all my time was focused onto my career. I'm an EC, by the way. I felt frustrated because I noticed that I just wasn't shifting. So I noticed that I needed a solution. Isagenix made its way into my life actually the past few months. Come February, my friend Melissa Byers, she shared her amazing gift with me. It's funny because she tried sharing it back in June, and I kept saying, no, I can do it myself. But funny how that changed really quickly. I felt incredible within the first few days of taking Isagenix and the products itself. I felt a part of this insane community and a movement. Everyone was so uplifting and so positive, and I'm like, I didn't even know there was people like this out there. I noticed from Isagenix itself, I gained energy and an incredible amount of muscle mass within a month when I've been lifting weights for about 6 months. I gained a vehicle in terms of when I want, I gained a vehicle to being able to go to people, and I felt incredible to surround myself with good people. After starting Isagenix, I knew that I have to share this gift with other people. I now not only can help others become best versions of themselves, this START movement gives me the opportunity to live life on my own terms, which is something I've always dreamt of doing. I'm a huge traveler. I always do things day by day and going and living life to the fullest, regardless of any bad outcome that can happen. And the START movement kind of gives me a chance to live life the way I want to live life, and not having to wake up and go to work every day like a 9-to-5 job because I have to. It's being able to do things that I love and that I want to. And I get to wake up every day with energy and this happiness beyond belief. And I am incredibly grateful to be part of this movement and have the opportunity to help those around me. And I am super grateful to be here and to get to share this story for me. Sorry, I'm reading this question here. What's one tip you could share with us in regards to using Instagram to build your business? One tip I can share with you guys is stay on it. Don't leave gaps in between. I noticed that I've been doing that a lot. And with building a business, people like consistency. They like seeing things. They don't want to see you kind of fall apart and do that. So if you're wanting to build a business on IG, stay on it. Like plan out your days on what you're going to post and what you want to post. And that's probably my best advice that I could give to that. And I need to start doing that too. So thank you for that question, because that gives me a little bit of a reminder to stay on top of things, and it's super important. I just kind of want to thank everyone. I spoke a lot. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry about my camera again. But I'm really happy that I got to share my story, and that's pretty much it as of right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can we all raise the roof for Jasmine? Thank you so much for sharing your story. I love when you say that you're a traveler, because I am a massive traveler. You can see my wall, my two maps on my wall there. Like, I love being able to create my life by my own design and take spontaneous trips wherever I want and all the rest. So thank you so much for sharing that. So with that being said, we're moving on to the training piece of our call. So our trainer tonight is a starter who is a 5-star Golden Circle Crystal executive. She is a busy full-time stay-at-home mom. She has a 3-year-old boy. And since starting Isagenix in 2011, she was able to replace her income from her full-time job with her Isagenix business and actually double that. And when she first started, she was just using the products and then decided to go all in. So since then, like I said, she has doubled her income from her previous job. She has reached Star 1000, was the number 5 point earner in the $1 Million Challenge, and earned a $25,000 bonus. And a fun fact about her is that she can sword fight and eat fire. So with that, can you guys please raise the roof for Renee Trask?
Hey everybody! I am so happy to be on this call, and thank you to Tina for asking me to join you all. I feel like you guys don't really know me, so it's kind of exciting to share my story with all of you and just help you along this journey. And if I can do anything to cut the learning curve and just cut the amount of time it takes to learn this industry and to do this business, then that's what I've gotten from doing this call with all of you. So as Lena spoke about a little bit, my story with Isagenix was, I did get started for the products, and a little different than, say, Jasmine or Lena's story. I didn't get started for the weight loss products. I did, however, see a post from a friend on Facebook about losing 30 pounds with her Isagenix products. But what really attracted me was she was talking about how much energy she had, and she had a couple of people that did it with her, and they were all, as she mentioned, I did sword fighting and fire eating. So they were people I knew from the Renaissance fairs. So an interesting fact about how I got into Isagenix, it was through Ren Fair friends. And they were all talking about how much energy they had. And, I'm like, well, I was only 125 pounds. I'm like, I don't have 30 pounds to lose. What is this product going to do for me? But I was in my 20s and I was tired all the time. And I'm like, there's got to be something more to life like this. If I'm in my 20s and I'm this tired all the time now, what's it going to be like in my 40s or my 50s? It's like, I've got to do something now. So I started putting the products in my body, and I did feel, an amazing difference in my energy levels. I used to be a person that I felt like I was sleeping my life away. I would come home from work. I was working 50 hours a day, 10 to 12 hours a week. I would literally get up in the morning, I would go to work, and I would come home and I would sleep. And that was it. And I would even take naps on my lunch. Like, that's how tired I was all the time. And I'm like, this is not, the way it's supposed to be. So I had the transformation in my body, but it was really more what I could feel than what people could see. And as Lena mentioned, it was a whole year later before I really decided to jump in with the business end. And so what had happened, I had told my enrolling sponsor when she asked me about the business, I said, look, I have a good sales job. I make good money. I don't need this. So when she asked me, I wasn't interested. A whole year later had passed. My husband and I, we had a emergency or a situation happen with our house where literally the foundation wall of our house had collapsed. Our house had been condemned, wasn't covered under insurance, and we were then drowning in credit card debt. It was like, we had to pay everything out of pocket to fix our house, to be able to live in our own house. And suddenly we found it, while my husband and I both had really good jobs, it wasn't enough anymore. We were still, at the end of the month, at zero. We had nothing left. And so suddenly I was like, okay, well, I remember Stacy talking about this additional stream of income. I already have sales experience. Maybe I can do this. Why not me? So I started, I went to my first event with her, with Jimmy the Butcher Smith. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of him, but he's one of our top income earners, so you probably have. And I literally had to bribe my husband to come to the first meeting. He was not on board, not at all. So he came to the first meeting, and that's when we just said, why not us? We had like $0 in our bank account, and we just said, why not us? And we dove in. And like I said, I still had that, 50-hour-a-week job. I was working 10 to 12-hour days, and I really had to build this in the pockets of my life. So yes, I have, I do this full time now, but I didn't in the beginning. So when anybody tries to give me the excuse that I don't have the time, I'm like, no. I was like, I don't accept that. I was like, you can do this no matter how much time you have. Oh, right now I have a busy toddler at home. You can make the time. You can do it in 15-minute intervals. You can do it on your break at work. You can do it on your lunch. When I was working 10 to 12 hours a day, what I would do is I would have my call list, and, I'd be dialing from the car. So, they said the term smile and dial, like I would have my list, and I would literally with my Bluetooth be dialing and making calls my whole ride home, because I had about an hour commute. If I could, I always set up appointments. I'd listen to podcasts in the morning. I was always doing my education on the ride to work, and on the ride home from work, I was always making calls. So I really built this in the pockets of my life in the beginning. Once I got to a point where I was reaching my income at my full-time job, I kind of got to a point where I'm like, okay, well, why am I doing this anymore? Why am I working 50 hours a week when I've been doing this part-time and I've now matched my income? So I then left my job. That was in September of 2013. And I went in full force, full time. And at that point I started making, 100 calls a day. I was pregnant at the time, and I went from 3-star to 5-star when I was about 9 months pregnant. It was right before I had my son. And that's really the piece I wanted to train most on, was just having a why, and how that's going to really drive you when the going gets tough, when, it's 10 o'clock at night and you don't want to make calls, but you haven't done anything to build your business all day. You're going to need something that's going to drive you. When the going gets tough, when you've heard 30 no's in a row, you're going to need something that is stronger, that's going to push you harder than you're willing to push yourself. At that time for me was, and my why has changed. My why has changed 2, 3, 4 times now. In the beginning, it was paying off the credit card debt that we had accumulated from having the foundation of our house collapse. So we got to a point where we were debt free, and we had paid off everything. Then it was to build an income that I could quit my job. My husband and I, my son is literally here because of Isagenix. We had gotten to a point in our lives where we felt like we weren't going to be able to have a child with the lifestyle that we had. I knew that if I was going to have a baby, I wanted to be a full-time stay-at-home mom, to raise the child the way I wanted to raise them. I didn't want to pay somebody to raise my son. So that was my second goal. Once we started making the income to be able to support that and for me to be able to leave my job, that's when we started planning. So my child literally wouldn't be here had Isagenix not come into my life. It's made that much of a difference. And then, from there, my why changed to being able to leave it was my full-time job. And then it was like, oh my God, I'm going to have a newborn. It's going to be so much easier to build this now than it's going to be to do it after I have a newborn. So I just built like crazy. And what I would do is I would take my calls list and I would organize them by time zone. So I would go from, I'm on East Coast time. I would go from East Coast time, and then I would go back to Central time, and then I would go back to Pacific time. And that's how I would organize my list. So I would start from Eastern time, and so I would start at like 6 p.m. And then as it got too late to call the people on Eastern, I would switch over to the middle. And then when it got too late to call them, I would switch over to the West Coast time. So I always I set my list up the night before, and I always had a plan of what I was going to do. And the biggest thing that I can stress for all of you, and I know most of you are young, and I know Tina said the restarters, I'll be joining you there pretty soon. I feel a little old on this call. I'm going to be aging out myself soon. I'll be 34 this year. I got one more year with you guys, but I definitely at the start parties I'm feeling a little like a grandma. But from there, I really stayed focused on what I wanted. And so I really built it. As Lena mentioned, I was able to double my income after leaving my full-time job. And that was the why that I had built was so strong. It was like, this is going to be so much easier now than it is going to be after I have a newborn. And so what I did is in the first 3 months of 2014, when my son was born, I had already earned what I would have made at my previous job. And so that at that point, and it was before he was born, because he was born in April, I knew that if I did nothing else for the entire year, which wasn't going to happen, but if I did nothing else, I was still going to break even what I had made the prior years when I was working full time. And I knew that as a brand new mom, I could be there and be fully engaged in taking care of my newborn and not have to worry about income, not have to worry about maternity leave, or when I have to go back to work, or do I have to find a daycare for my 8-week-old child. Like those were none of the things that I wanted to do. And then, the women that are, stressing about the money, most of I don't know about in Canada, but in the United States, most of our maternity leaves are all unpaid. So then you're like, okay, well, what's going to pay my bills while I'm taking care of my baby? So that was really what drove me to work really hard before he was born. And I'll admit, after he was born, I did take some time. I did have a part-time nanny help me so that, I would have time to take and make calls when he was a newborn. And I had those dedicated blocks of time that I worked in. I still had a huge team that I had just grown that I had to support. So I really I worked it into my life, and, being a new mom and just figuring out that, I mean, anybody that's on the call that's a mom knows that that's complete lifestyle change. If you go from being, having no kids to having kids is huge. And then, 6 months after my son was born, my husband has a son as well. And he came to live with us. So I went from having no kids to having 2 kids in 6 months' time, which physically isn't possible, but so that makes life a little crazy. And then, the next thing was when they rolled out this $1 million challenge. That was really, I went through kind of a low point in my business where I wasn't really growing. And I realized later that the reason I wasn't growing and I was kind of getting stagnant was I wasn't pushing as hard as I had been pushing, and I hadn't been pushing because I didn't have that goal that I was set, that I was looking forward to, and that I was working towards, and that was really passionate about. So when they released that $1 million challenge, I looked through the rules and regulations and how you earned points and everything, and the amount of cash that they were awarding at the end of that contest. And I was blown away. And I said to my husband, I printed it out and I handed it to him that night. And I said, honey, we can do this. And at that point, like I mentioned, we had gone from having, no kids to having 2 kids. And we had rapidly outgrown our house. And so we bought when the market was high, and I'm sure Canadians are well aware, the market's not great right now for selling a home. And so what we bought in 2008, and it's not a good time to sell. And so we were basically stuck in this, less than 1,000 square foot house, 3 bedrooms with 2 kids and 2 adults. And it just didn't work for our life anymore. But we really felt stuck, like, there was no way out of that house. So that's when the $1 Million Challenge came in, and I looked at the prize money. I said that would make a really great down payment on a house. And so I went to work again and just kept pushing forward and to drive that. My goal was to be in the top 10 in the $1 Million Challenge, because that's where the most money was being awarded. At the end of the $1 Million Challenge, we ended up being number 5 in the country and number 2 in the United States. So we were really proud of our accomplishments with that. And as I speak right now, we are sitting in our brand new home, a 4-bedroom. It's literally 3 times the size of our old home. So it's an amazing feeling to be able to accomplish something like that. And so my next goal is really to help my team to do this and to be, I want to grow someone else to become a 3-star, to be a 6-figure earner, to be able to create what I've created and what they can do for their own lives, what their own goals are, what we can set for their goals and what we can accomplish. Because if you set your mind to it, you really can, accomplish anything you set your mind to it. The other thing that I wanted to share, and one of the whys that's really passionate for me is I do, as I mentioned, I have 2 sons. One's 17, my stepson, and then my 3-year-old. And so both of them are actually diagnosed on the autistic spectrum. And so for me, it's not really a choice to not be a stay-at-home mom. My one child, goes 10 to 14 weeks or 14 hours worth of therapy a week. He's in a special needs preschool. I go to preschool with him. I mean, there's really not a moment that is in his day that I'm not with him. And the amount of progress he's had by being there, and going from doctor to doctor and nutritional supplements and all of that. So the why that I'm really passionate about right now is that I don't ever want to have to say no to a treatment or a therapy or something that's going to benefit my kids because of income. And so how I look at it is that we always have to be able to create the income to do what's best for our families. So that's what I'm super passionate about right now. That's a lot of what I wanted to talk about. I don't know where we're at on time. I think we're at 8:33. So I know I had about 20 minutes to speak. I know as young people, the other thing I wanted to talk about is how important it is to be organized. So a lot of people ask me, how is it that I accomplish everything that I do? And I don't know if any of you follow Susan Sly. I know obviously Tina does because she's on Susan's team and she's on the CEO. And I don't reinvent the wheel. I practice what Susan preaches. And I wanted to show you, like, I have my calendar. I have everything scheduled out in advance. I have my income producing activities. I have dedicated blocks of time set aside to work. And I think the other thing that people often do is they underestimate how much it takes to really be successful in network marketing. It's network marketing. I mean, and you have to talk to a lot of people, and people are going to fall off and you're going to get discouraged. And you just have to keep driving and always be filling new people in. And you got to make it about them as well. You have to make it about what goals they want to accomplish. What is it, why is Isagenix going to benefit them? Because if you just sell it as a product, they're not going to catch the vision. I think that that's probably one of the most important things, is that you have to start asking people what their goals are. Why is this important to you? If it's just weight loss, they might have tried 10 other things that didn't work. They might be already discouraged and feeling like this isn't going to work. This is just going to be the same as anything else. But you have to attach it to their why, why do you want to lose the weight? You might get deeper down, like, okay, well, I want to lose the weight because I want to be able to get down on the floor and play with my kids. I want to have the energy. I want to be there, to see them graduate from high school. If you attach it to something that is more heartfelt and more emotional, they're more likely to achieve the results and to stick around. And I think the other thing is that people just don't realize how many people they have to talk to, how many people that it takes, and how much effort. I think, everybody wants to come into network marketing as some get rich quick scheme. It's just not that way. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I think anybody that's at the top would tell you it's not easy. It does take a lot of work. Just looking at my notes to see what I had written down for you guys. Oh, the other thing I tell my team, and I love this, is I tell my team all the time that you have to be willing and vulnerable enough to suck long enough to get good. And I think that that's really important, because people want to start out right off the gates and they think that they're going to be great and they're going to do this and they're going to get all these people and all this team, and then they're just going to make all this money and it's going to be easy. And then they're not willing to call anybody because, oh, well, I'm not good at making calls, or I don't want to bother people, or, whatever excuse they want to come up with. But I feel like, I wasn't great in the beginning. I made a lot of crappy voicemails. I did a lot of stumbling on the phone. And you have to be willing to suck long enough to be good. And I think that that's really important for everybody to know, that nobody that you see at the top got there overnight. They all had to suck too at one point. They've just been doing it long enough that they are good and they speak with authority and they have that confidence, but they didn't have it in the beginning. So you have to be vulnerable. And I think that when you are vulnerable, people feel you more. If you come off as too polished, too perfect, they think, oh, I could never do that. I could never do what she's doing. I can never be like that. So I think it's okay, to allow yourself and to be okay, be vulnerable. It's okay if your voice stumbles. It's okay if you screw up on your voicemail or you don't get your script right. One, they don't know what your script says, so it's okay. And just, to allow yourself, the time to grow. And, you don't expect an MD to be, a surgeon on the first day. It takes, years of college and training, and, then they have to go through an internship. So don't expect yourself to be a professional network marketer on your first day. Is there anything that you guys want to shoot out at me? It's a little weird when I'm just yapping away on my own here.
Renee, are you able to walk through what your day looks like now? Like what it looked like in the beginning and what it looks like now?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So in the beginning, my day was I would wake up at 6 a.m. And I would get ready for work. Typically in my shower, I would be listening to some sort of podcast. So whether it was personal development, I don't know if all of you know Jeffrey Combs, but I'm a big follower of him. And if you don't know him, his calls are on goldenmastermind.com, and his are exceptional. And I have hired him as a coach as well. So I truly recommend that, for anybody that's doing this business and really wants to take it to the next level. He's exceptional. So I would listen to some sort of personal development, Isagenix podcast, anything I could get my hands on. I was always learning. I would also do that in the car. I worked from 7 a.m. until sometimes 8 p.m., 9 p.m., but on a regular day, say 6 p.m. So I would get my hour lunch break. I would have my list with me, and I would make calls on my lunch break. I would have a shake for my lunch, and then I would make calls during that time. I even have pictures of me sitting in my car, making calls. After that, say I get out at 6 p.m., I would have that list with me. And I had a car with Bluetooth, so I would be making calls. A lot of times you get voicemail, so I could probably get, through, 5, 6, 7 calls between my job and my home. And then from there, I would typically sit down and I would make calls. And just read that comment there. Patricia says, did you call people without can you talk about your list, the people you called? Were they always your warm market, and did you have a connection? Sounds like you did a lot of calling. I did a lot of calling in the beginning. I definitely use more social media and texting now because with a child, it's a little easier to text versus being on the phone. But I did in the beginning, I made more calls. And I did, to answer Patricia's question, I did both cold market and warm market. In the beginning, I would say I did more warm market. But when I was working, I didn't make 80 to 100 calls a day. But when I wasn't working, I did. You burn through your warm market rather quick when you make that many calls in a day. So I did, and you can call anybody, honestly. The first thing that you should be doing when you start a network marketing business is creating your list. And that can be every friend on your friend list. I actually had downloaded my friends on Facebook and called every one of them, went through. So that's a great way to do that. And then, so to answer Lena's question about what my schedule looks like now, my schedule's a little crazy. So it's a little all over the place. So to give you an example, this week, I have therapist appointments with my son. So I have a lot of different things that most parents of neurotypical kids don't have. So I juggle between that. So right now my son typically is taking a nap about an hour, sometimes 2. So I sit down during that time. I go through, I do my emails. Typically what I'll do is on a Monday, I make my list. So whether or not that's somebody that reached out to me before that I'm following up with, emails, people that are reaching out for more information, I will make my list. And then as I go through the week, during that hour or 2 that he's sleeping, I'll do my calls. I often too, my husband gets home at like 6:30. If I still have calls to make after that time, I will ask him, I'm like, hey, can you take, my son for a little bit so that I can make calls. I also have some people in Australia that typically the time zone difference, I have to call them at like, say 9 p.m. It's like 13 hours difference. So I'm very much a no excuses, do whatever it takes kind of person. So I make it work no matter what. And I think that that's what sets me apart from most people. From doing coaching calls with others, that's really what sets me apart. Any other questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Before we open it up to open up the lines for questions, if anybody wants to jump off, we have started doing this thing called rapid fire questions. So how that works is I will shoot questions at you and we're going to time you, and you just like the first thing that comes up in your head, then that's what you answer.
Boy. They're
pretty easy. So right now you have to beat Alvy Shepherd.
Oh boy. Oh geez, thanks.
Okay, are you ready?
Okay, ready.
Okay, starting timer. Your favorite Isagenix product?
Ionics.
Least favorite Isagenix product?
That one's hard. Geez. I don't think there's one that I don't love. Let's go with, I don't use the accelerator, so let's go with that.
Okay. One word to sum up your Isagenix journey.
What was that one?
One word to sum up your Isagenix journey.
Amazing.
Favorite book?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm not going to beat his record because I have too many books. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of, I like The Secret. I think that one really started it all.
Your favorite podcast?
I listen to all of Jeffrey Combs, so I'll just sum it up with Jeffrey.
Have you ever cheated on a cleanse day?
No, I don't think I have. I'm really good about not cheating.
What is your favorite cheat meal?
I would say pasta.
What is your favorite thing to do or work out at the gym?
I like to do high intensity interval training. So that's my favorite.
Favorite song to work out to?
Oh God, I don't listen to music when I work out, but podcasts. I'll sum it up.
Your favorite core Isagenix event?
Celebration.
And your number one bucket list item?
I'd say Paris.
Sweet. All right, well, you beat Alvi. I don't remember what his number was, but I'm pretty sure it was in the 3 minutes, and you're at 1 minute and 31, so you did well. That's awesome. So thank you so much. If there's anybody who wants to jump, unmute yourself and ask any questions, now is your chance to do it. Don't be shy.
No questions. Okay.
So Renee, I have a question.
Sure.
I would love to know, because what I love is how real you are about the numbers, and that, about being okay with not being so great, because you will get better and it will get better as you go, because I certainly can relate to that. And when you talk about the numbers, can you give some idea as to what your numbers are like when you talked about receiving a lot of no's? Like 30 no's in a row. Like,
oh my God. I could go spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet of no's. I mean, seriously, like, I do everything via spreadsheet. And I will say that I don't pay real close attention to my numbers. I really don't. I just focus on the next action. I would say I'm a go, go, go kind of person, and just take action and action and action. And I don't get hung up on the no's. It's nothing personal, and I know that. And people just aren't ready, and sometimes they come back. But yeah, I mean, if you're really good, you can close 1 out of 4 people. That's if you're really, really good. So, and even at that, I mean, it's like, it really depends on where you're getting leads from, if it's warm market, cold market. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing is I just don't get hung up on it at all. I just, no, okay, call the next person.
Is that landing on anyone here?
Yeah, I use the term, now I started out in the car business, so I did have some sales experience, but it's not at all the same. Everybody, people have tried to use that against me. Oh, it must be easy for you because, and I'm like, well, what I sold has nothing to do with health and wellness. I mean, I still had to learn this business or this industry just like anybody else. I started out in the car business, so I did have some sales experience, and that's one of the things that they talk about is smiling, dialing. They also trained with Zig Ziglar, if anybody knows who that is. That's kind of old school. So I had heard some of those things, and one of the biggest sales tips that I learned when I was brand new in the car business was that it's best to be new, because people aren't going to feel like you're selling them. They're going to feel like you're coming across as your authentic self and sharing from your heart, rather than somebody that's being, selling you something. I used to I sold cars for a living. I sold cars as a super dealership. And the manager, that was doing my training, he said, the best thing you can be is new. And tell everybody you're new, because they're not going to feel like you're selling them something.
That's amazing. Does anybody share their biggest takeaway from the call? Like, I love that you talked about that you have to suck before you get good. Because sometimes, like, even when I think I'm getting good, I'm like, yeah, and then you kind of like doubt yourself, and you're like, I need to suck a little bit more, and then you feel better and better, and that you give yourself that permission to be vulnerable. So I love that.
Well, thank you. And even like, okay, I think, Jasmine, everybody that spoke has said that they've been a little bit nervous. I was just as nervous, and I messaged Tina, like about not being a good enough or a strong enough leader to be hosting a call like this. It's just, so we all have those insecurities and vulnerabilities. And that was another book that I really liked. Brene Brown. She does Rising Strong. and I think the other one's Daring Greatly. And those were great books about just allowing yourself to be vulnerable. So that's a great. And I just want to do a shout out to Miss Michelle Legrand over there that's been taking care of her little one the whole time while she's on the call. So I just want to shout out and acknowledge her because I've been there and I've done that. And, I've had my 3-year-old, barge in on the call and, have tantrums. And, Isagenix is all about family and inclusion. And, you do this around your life. And so I just really wanted to acknowledge her for making it on the call and doing it, despite everything else that's going on in her life, because she could make that excuse and not.
Yeah, you're so right. So team, can you take a screenshot of us before we wrap up the call?
I'm going to have to ask someone else to do that because I upgraded my computer and now I don't know how.
Okay, I can do it.
It doesn't work the same anymore.
All right, so if you guys are hiding behind your cameras, please unhide yourself, come out, and we are going to take a big group screenshot. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. I think I took it. I think so. All right. And one more just for luck. Perfect. All right.
Sweet.
So, thank you guys so much for being on this call. I know it's a Sunday night and there's a million things that you could be doing. And like Renee said, like some people have kids on the call and you're juggling a million things. So your time is appreciated and every face on here is so much support and love. We do record these calls and it will be uploaded on the Start Canada YouTube channel. For all the recordings, go on it and subscribe and share it with your friends and your teammates for people who can't make it on. We also have the Start Canada Facebook page. You can stay in the loop with all our calls, things that are going on, inspiration, testimonials, a lot of super awesome stuff, and that is our Canada-wide page. So invite your friends. Next Sunday, we have another one of our calls. It's at 8 p.m., 8 to 9 p.m. and we will see you there. So Sunday, April 30th.
Awesome. You guys, just a reminder for the Toronto peeps, we have a gigantic Super Saturday Toronto next Saturday. And we've got Camille Lawson talking a lot about women's health. We've got Dr. Paul Bondich, who is always a huge draw for the health and wellness people. And Alexis will be there from Isagenix Canada. So please make sure you get your ticket. Those of you that got your tickets before, I believe you can still get your tickets to earn your name in a draw for a free 30-day system, and bring as many guests as you can. It will be an amazing day. And I just want to give it up for LINA Thompson for hosting and rocking the hosting on the call tonight. Yes, LINA, we missed you. Cuba's awesome, but we love you too.
Oh, thanks.
And Renee, thank you so much for sharing all your nuggets of goodness. You inspire me every day, and tonight was no exception, so thank you. Yeah, and Renee, or Jasmine, great story, share girlfriend. Sorry we couldn't see your gorgeous face, but we're so grateful that you were here. There you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, guys, love you guys. Signing out. See you next Sunday night.